here in Hiroshima, Japan. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Marian Hara in Tokyo, I believe, today, right, Marian?
That's right. I'm in the middle of Tokyo. Nice to see you, and I hope that a lot of people will be joining us because I think what we're going to talk about is really important.
It is very important. Now, Marian, you have a very unique position as one of my guests. Usually, all the guests are focused in some way on sustainability, but
Hmm.
very few are focused on human rights and environmental rights and activism. And I think that is so important for sustainability to have something to pass to future generations. We really have to think of the people and the planet part of the equation, right?
Absolutely. Well, human rights and environment, those two things have been a big thing in my life. I used to teach in high school, and it was a global studies course. And somehow over the years, this became a clear focus. And then I got involved with Amnesty International, and I still am, and continued with the environmental interests. So when this issue came up, it was a no brainer. This is something really important for me. I mean, for all of us. It's more than just one place, although that's what we're talking about today, but it's much more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't we start with the Jingu Gaien
Mm,
campaign?
absolutely.
Now, I had the pleasure of talking with the amazing Rochelle Kopp
Oh,
on the
right.
program,
Yes.
and she introduced the campaign. But for people who may not have watched that one, can you give us an overview? What is the campaign about?
Well, there has been a project in the making which came from some big property developers, Mitsui Fudosan and others, who, and in fact, I think this goes back with some politicians, and there may be a very clear link with all of the development around the Olympics, because it's in very much the same area as the Olympic Stadium. And so, yeah, there you go. Those are the trees, and they have developed this idea that they think this area needs to be redeveloped. Um, when the idea first came up, they didn't have immediately. They didn't start consultations with people in the area, and that was a huge mistake. And in fact, a lot of it was very secretive, as these things often are. So once people started hearing about the idea, they were not very happy for many reasons. And well, first and foremost, that these absolutely valuable and very old trees should be under threat. And there they are. I mean, they're the most gorgeous trees. And one part that's under threat, they're not planning to cut down this very iconic avenue, but down the side of Shake Shack, can you see there when you go in off Shake Shack, there are 16 um, uh, uh, ginkgo trees down there, and they have all to go. This is the road that leads down to the rugby stadium, which they want to switch over with the baseball stadium for some reason, instead of renovating them as they are. And their plan originally involved cutting 1,000 trees. Then there was a lot of protest about that. And so they brought it down. I think it stands at somewhere over 600 at the moment. But cutting down trees at this time when we're fighting so hard against global warming, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So, of course,
And
people got organized.
one of the things Rochelle pointed out too was the plans, like many of these plans were for redeveloping parks. It's happening all over Japan. We
Yes.
lost our Central Park in Hiroshima, which nobody thought that they would ever destroy because it was a gift as part of the peace branding of the city after the bomb.
Hmm.
We're going to
Yeah.
make these great green spaces for the people of Hiroshima and visitors to enjoy and recover and to commune and get together. And that's really connected with this project as well, is the public spaces changing to private spaces, as well as the trees and the green spaces, right?
Exactly. And it's not also, there's another one in Nagoya, and there are many plans. I think there's some incredible number, like 800 plans all over Japan in different places. They call it private initiatives, private finance initiatives. And yeah, well, it's really handing over our shared these commons that we should all be sharing, and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And you know, people have,
We
yeah,
have
people
Melody
have
Cook
addressed it.
joining us on Facebook. Great to see you, Melody.
Oh,
She says
Melody, hi.
Kyoto is famous for getting rid of beautiful old things as well. I think, I mean, that's the thing that I think Marian, you guys are trying to do, is just to keep these ideas and keep this information in the public eyesight, that people don't forget that
Mm,
these things are happening, that these things are valuable. Let's not destroy them. I
mm,
was just at a bombed building. There used to be more around the old Hiroshima University campus, and it is just powerful to walk around those buildings that survived the
right.
nuclear blast 77 years ago, and we need to preserve them for peace tourism, for peace education, for the good of all of our future, right?
And
um,
there's they're trying to destroy them now. They're trying to.
they're that one may be preserved. I was at a bombed warehouses yesterday, and luckily those will be preserved. But
Mm,
it's not just the in the Peace Park, the a bomb dome. We have these amazing buildings which really tell a story when you
right.
visit them. They're so powerful,
Mm,
and just seeing a photograph of it, or same seeing a photograph of a tree, is not the same. You
no.
have to preserve these things. Very
Mm.
important.
And it's important to go and walk around. So once I heard about this and got sort of connected up with the group, we had a walk around the area, and that's pretty shocking to think so many trees could go in this lovely area, which, okay, maybe it needs a little bit of tidying up, and the stadiums could do with some minor renovations. But the wholesale destruction of them, it's just profiteering. It really is,
Now,
sadly.
one of the interesting things you've done, Marion, is you did a survey with visitors, and
Yeah.
this has so much visitor appeal.
Mm,
And when you're trying to create sustainable tourism, which is attractive and enticing for visitors to go and see beautiful nature in Japan, this is a great asset for visitors, right?
absolutely. That's why we did it. When we were discussing, there was a big online meeting with people putting in ideas of what we could do with the media, with the politicians. And me being non Japanese said, well, how about the foreign tourists? They're just coming back. There you go. And, you know, people were very willing to add their voices. And some of them made wonderful comments. The last one there, don't make the same mistakes as America. Um, and there was one lovely one from Mexico. It said, don't destroy the things that your ancestors made with so much hope. You know, people were really thinking about it and saying, keep the trees. It's a pretty simple message.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah,
really, it does drive it home. People from all different countries
yeah,
visiting Japan, and everybody appreciates it. I love the comments from people in Hong Kong. We
mm,
love these trees. Don't cut it, please. Please
yeah,
save the trees. This is a beautiful place. And for foreigners, this place is so beautiful. But isn't it, I mean, I think one of the things I heard you talking about, and maybe Rochelle as well, is people just take it for granted that it will be protected, that the trees won't be destroyed.
mm.
Um, but I think that trust is often broken when you just assume that things will be taken care of, or the public. will
Yes.
be, you know.
Yes, absolutely. There was a wonderful quote that Rochelle produced saying from, oh, somebody very famous, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Yeah.
And that's, if we want to make sure that things that are our shared heritage, I count myself in that, I've been lived here 48 years, then we have to, get up and walk the walk, and as we talk the talk, and make sure that we do what we can.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, the big thing for me was the foreign tourists, all of them very quickly understood the importance of the trees. And I find it really hard to understand why Tokyo metropolitan government, which has a zero carbon, very ambitious zero carbon target, is doing so much development at the moment. It just doesn't add up. The
Uh,
left hand and the right hand, they're just not working together. And it doesn't make sense.
and these plans were made before COVID. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of our sensibilities have shifted during
Hmm.
COVID. People love open outdoor spaces. They love getting out and being away from other people and away from crowded places. So the last thing you want to get rid of is open, beautiful spaces and
Well,
encourage people to be indoors, which is the new plan, right?
Well, part of it, they say there's a lot of sort of greenwashy stuff. They're going to make it a bustling green sports center. But actually, what is involved, that they're going to be closing down some facilities that are at the moment have been there for people to use, like, oh, there's a batting center. I think there was another tennis club. And what's going to remain are going to be more expensive options where there will be profit in running these new facilities. So, they never did consultation right at the beginning. And a lot of what they're saying, they're talking about, oh, there's going to be better access. And for, it's a big thing. People can't argue against this access. But one of the guys in living in the area said, look, at this stadium, the baseball stadium, they've had wheelchair access for ages. They're just not telling the truth. This is one I feel it really strongly, that there is not enough consultation. If you make a plan for an area, the first thing you should be doing is going and talking to the people there, right? They know the area and
Yeah.
it affects
The
their lives.
stakeholders, that's round
They,
one. That's sustainability 101. We are
right.
all striving in Japan to reach those SDG goals.
Oh,
Like you said, Tokyo has big targets. Everyone's wearing the badges. Let's put our money where our mouth is, right?
absolutely, really. So, they do talk about it. One thing that really concerns me, when we met people in the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Office, they were kind of they were defending the plan as if they were the developers. They're standing on the side of the developers. They should be in the middle. They should be in the middle between the people and the developers. And that we certainly didn't have that impression. So that's troubling. There's definitely a lack of consultation with people who are
Yeah.
affected. And they
Well,
could,
let's
they
I
could,
had a look at the change.org page today,
mhm,
getting people to sign up. And I'll put the QR code here. I'll put the link as well. If you put your phone up to the screen right now, you should be able to link to the campaign. Please sign it and add
mhm,
your voice
mhm.
to stopping this unnecessary redevelopment of this beautiful area. But you, at the moment, you have 111,000, almost 112,000
Mhm.
people have signed up, but the target is 150,000. Is that right?
So we need people to sign it. We also need people to share it really widely. You can see it's in there: English, French, Chinese, and German. And the JJ, there are two other appeals that are also really important because a lot of people don't necessarily have that much interest in trees and the environment. But from the sports angle, these are two very historical stadiums, um, built a long time ago. And when the whole thing was developed, it was to commemorate the Meiji Emperor, and the stadium, the baseball stadium, is where Babe Ruth has played, and so there is now three appeals. The rugby stadium, which is a dreadful plan. It is so bad. They're going to cover it over. They're going to use false grass, and the seating will be much less. So the people who know that place and who love it are really also upset. So those two appeals they've only been up for a short time, but they're getting up to about 10,000.
Do you have the links for those? If you put it
Um,
in the private chat, and then
and
I can share them with the public
Let me see if I
as
do
people are
that.
watching.
Put it in the chat. Okay, I'll bring them up. The rugby appeal. Here we go. It grew very quickly, and both of these appeals have been spearheaded by well-known people in that field. So, yeah, here's one. No, you have to give me a minute here. Where
Yep.
do I put it?
Is it change.org?
Yes, it's change.org. I
Ah,
can't,
okay.
I can't see where to add it.
Rochelle says she has the links. She'll add them. Thanks, Rochelle. And we'll, of course, add them
Oh, good.
later. We'll make sure we have all the links later.
Oh, great. Yes, that's
Yeah.
super. Yeah, because it's not just the one. Please, everybody, take them all, spread them far and wide, and, um, make sure that more and more people hear about them because.
Now, the cynic would say, is
Mhm.
really signing your name, is really having names on a petition, is it going to change anything? What would you
Mm.
say to that?
I would say if there's nothing else you can do, why not do that? Is it better just to sit and be cynical? I mean, and I see Melody being cynical there, and I totally agree with what she's saying. Of course, you have to wonder, where is the money going? What's been happening to make this happen with so much secrecy, and ignoring the appeals? Because, JJ, there is this committee called ICOMOS, which is a highly renowned body of academics who are involved with the World Heritage Program and who are scientists. And they have spoken out against us continuously. And they're still speaking out. And honestly, their voices are being ignored. There was a very suddenly convened environmental assessment committee, and one of the people on that committee has a connection with Ecomos. And honestly, they just ignored what she said. She spoke very, very powerfully and passionately. And at the end of the meeting, it was okay, the meeting's over now. And so there are big issues. Yes, there's a comment from Rochelle. It does make a difference. Yeah, and the
Yes.
press are finally paying attention. I think we feel that the television media has not done as much as they could. Um, Even NHK recently had a program about the recent construction all over Tokyo recent, and they were very, very sort of light on the problematic areas. They gave it a bit of lip service, but basically they were saying, "Oh, isn't this exciting?" And you really have to question that. They're
Well,
not
I
as
think one of
critical as they
the
were.
big drivers can be the opinions of the tourists. Like you were
Yeah,
talking with
right.
visitors, and when the visitors are saying, "I came here because of the trees. I made my way to this part
Yes.
of Tokyo to enjoy this beautiful area because of the trees," that should be enough of a reason to put the brakes on, right?
Oh, yes. There's one that really talked to me. She said, yeah, we feel so sad that the thought that if we might come again, that we wouldn't be able to see this beautiful site. Now, they say they're going to preserve this avenue of trees, but also that is in great danger. First of all, the stadium that will be brought much closer to it, only eight meters distance, is quite likely to cut a lot of the sunlight on the left side, where that Shake Shack cafe is now. In that area, there's going to be. Oh, do you have this flyer? Can you? This one. They have created a beautiful flyer showing how the left side will be sort of covered in gloom. And one issue is the lack of sunlight, which will affect the trees. And then the other one is the roots, because the building, the construction work will be coming much closer and will affect the roots. Now, right now, I was there yesterday with a friend, and we were watching because they're doing a survey of the roots. And they're digging down. And it's a little horrifying, not a little, it's really horrifying that, when they're digging down to find out how far the roots go, they're probably almost definitely causing damage. So even the basic avenue, which they say they're going to preserve, is quite likely to suffer in this way. And that's a huge concern. So in the end, the thing that appeals to the tourists might just not be there anymore.
Yeah.
What a shame. I mean, that would be a tragedy.
Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about your work with Amnesty International as well. But one of the things that reminded me of this, and I saw your group out in these cute T-shirts, "Save Jingu Gaien," as you campaign and talk to people out there. And that's one of the things I heard you talking about in an interview about Amnesty International. Is you're doing good things. You're doing good things with other people, but you're also having fun
Oh,
and
absolutely.
enjoying it, right?
Listen, I have met some of the most wonderful people. A lot of Japanese people don't show much interest in these kind of topics. And there's one thing that I found when I was campaigning and getting the comments from the Japanese tourists, I was also sharing an appeal that was going to Shinjuku and talking to Japanese people in the avenue. As I was doing the other one, I'd ask them to write down their name and address to send their opinion to Shinjuku Ward to say that they don't agree with the plan. And so many people were, oh, I can't put my address there. Oh, what's going to happen to this? Is something, people have this huge nervousness about letting their name and address be written down. It's private information. And it's really sad. But the people who are campaigning are just the most wonderful bunch of people. So we all went up on the 11th, a group of 9 of us who went up to take our appeal letters for the governor, for Koike. And we went all over talking to different people and submitting the letters. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, sure. Of course, when you're doing this kind of activity, you're doing something with people that have the same values. And it's great fun, really. And that was me up there for like 10 days in the best weather in the autumn and going up and down. I mean, it's just such an amazing place to be with the sunshine and the wonderful trees and all the people having a great time just taking pictures. And, it was super. So I just want that
It
to be
looks like
preserved.
a great place. I have to make my way there
Yeah.
next time I'm in Tokyo for sure.
But
Melody says it's a powerful point about tourism. Will you be writing this up in Japanese? So is the information also in Japanese?
oh yeah. So when was it now? On the 12th, Rochelle and I did a press conference in the Tokyo office again, in the Metropolitan office, in Japanese. So she gave the basic sort of lowdown, and I talked about the messages in from the tourists. And yes, several newspapers are picking it up, and this also has to go to tourism agencies and to the local governments. This involves Shinjuku, and the main one is Minato Ward, and even a little bit of Shibuya. So there's a lot of people we need to tell the Jingu, Meiji Jingu, who are the basic landowners in the area, need to talk to them some more. Because people are saying to them, they're doing this because they're running short of money. And this is also COVID related, that they have lost out on all the people visiting and paying their donations, doing them, clapping their hands and throwing ichiman yen in the box. They've been losing out. And instead of having a sort of brainstorming for other ways, they've kind of been persuaded to go along with this. But it may not be the best way. And there are other great things that they could do to, solve their financial problems. So, yes, there's going to be a lot more in Japanese. But I just hope that television channels will cover it more, because there hasn't been enough on that. And you have to feel that, it's pretty clear that there are commercial interests there. So TV channels are sometimes very, very careful about what kind of issues they report on, because, there are sponsors that don't want them to do certain things. So it's an issue.
It's difficult. I'm sure for media companies, there's a lot of interested parties that they don't want to rub the wrong way, but you
Absolutely.
also you want the reporting what's best for the community, what's best for all of our future. You
Mhm.
hope that the media can see the value of reporting both sides. I
Absolutely.
just want to point out some of the great photos that Rochelle sent me.
Oh,
So the
yes.
trees are gorgeous. A lot of
Yeah.
them are over 100 years old.
Mhm.
People go to this area for weddings, to get their wedding photos done, special photos. I was going through on Google. I saw people with their newborn babies, people wearing kimono. This is a really people taking their new cars for photo opportunities. This is just such a attractive, beautiful area.
It
It's just
is.
hard to imagine anyone wanting to get rid of it.
And going back to the tourism, you can hardly find a tourist guide that doesn't mention it. In the autumn, this is, the main attraction kind of thing. And to put that at risk is just so short sighted. And it is really in great danger. So, one of the things that some of the people said is, look, we have enough shopping centers. All over Tokyo, there are lots of shopping centers. Um, we don't need more, but this is one of the plans. And you have to wonder about the Japanese economy, the way things are with the population falling and things being quite difficult. Okay, putting up a building, putting up a new shopping center is not necessarily going to actually be economically very viable. So, let's just put a pause on this and think about it. So, our appeals to the governor have been just stop and do some more consultation before you go ahead with this. And it is a challenge. Everybody involved knows this is a huge challenge, but we're not giving up, really. There's such a big crowd of people working on it and talking to politicians. There are politicians in the national diet who are concerned. There are scientists who are concerned, and architects. All kinds of people are speaking up now. So let's hope that there will be a little more action, a little more sort of stronger voices.
Yeah.
Where people are gathering this weekend on Sunday, they're going to get together and sort of with some larger posters that have the two stadiums and the trees in the middle to kind of let people know. And also the picture I showed you there, the Gaien future, this is a flyer. So it has a lot of information on the back. And given that people really don't know very much about it, this is giving a lot of information to, to let people kind of really think about it. When I was there yesterday, we met. I was with a friend, and she was talking with someone when I arrived. She just kind of grabbed hold of this guy and said, "Are you interested in this?" And she had her iPad, so she had him signing. And he said, "Oh, I work in that building over there. This particular building is about 40 years old, big office building." And he said, "We've been told that our building is going to be taken down for a taller building. So there you go. We need more profit, so we've got to put in a bigger building." But he said those plans have been delayed and delayed. So, maybe it could be stopped, because it looked like a perfectly good building to me. But it's just this mentality post-war. You build something and then knock it down and build something else, and there's money in construction.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that putting it on pause, rethinking, is it really necessary?
Mm,
Getting people with design ideas, innovation ideas. How could
mm,
we incorporate the existing trees in a design that works and
mm.
not like the black wall of death that's going to block all the light, like the
Right.
existing idea? How many developments have I seen in Japan and around the world where obviously the designer never saw the location? It
Mm,
was just a design chosen for any
exactly.
flat location. But
Right.
if you take into consideration the existing location, how can we make the most of that borrowed view, which is such
Mm,
a part of Japanese culture, to have
absolutely.
that beautiful borrowed view and to
Mm,
incorporate it into the design? That would be a real winner, I think.
sure. It's another point for the rugby stadium, because when you sit in the rugby stadium on the far side, you can see the whole row of trees, and they're going to lose that as well. And also, if you go and visit the Olympic Stadium, it this is the one that really got me going strongly. When they built that stadium, the Olympic Stadium, they cut down 1,500 trees, and a lot of people don't know that. So many of these plans. There's another one. If you read the Japan Times article, there's an aquarium kind of development down in the around the bay of Tokyo. And hey, that's going to cut down some trees as well. You had the same thing in Nagoya. I think you've had that in Hiroshima. When these developments are planned, there's always losing trees involved, and that is so disturbing. People need a little bit more education on the function of trees in terms of CO2, absorbing CO2, apart from the shade, and just cutting them down. It's pretty upsetting. Did you
And
know that
and
people
it's also,
complain?
it's quality of life, right?
Absolutely.
It's stress relief, which a lot of people have a lot of stress right now. If
Mm,
you take away the outdoor beautiful spaces where
mm,
people can go outside and de-stress after a hard day, or all the stress of dealing with COVID and having to go to work and having less money, right? These,
mm.
you can't devalue all the benefits of being in these beautiful natural places.
When you talk
And
about value, I also think, the value for the developers is always monetary. And the value for people is a very different thing. The very last comment in those comments from the tourist, he said the desirability of the area around Jingu Gaien rests with nature, not to mention mental health, mental well-being as well. of course. And it's going to take them about 15 years to build it. There's going to be the dust and the mess. And of course, any kind of construction immediately causes CO2 emissions to rise. So you're absolutely right. We need to keep it as much as possible as it is, and not, you know, sort of casually think that, oh, we're going to have a few more nice cafes, or we'll have a famous restaurant there, or, you know, there's going to be another Starbucks. People just don't need those things. I think.
Yeah, I get the idea. Sometimes the developers and the planners are thinking, just make everything over in clean concrete. That is the clean and the modern.
Yeah.
That is progress.
Hmm.
Get rid of all the dirt. Get rid of all the leaves that we have to sweep up. Let's just make it all clean.
Yeah.
But you're creating so many problems. I was at a very beautiful park in Hiroshima today, Senda Koen, and they have designed that park so beautifully to have a running, walking track around, to have
Mhm.
rolling hills, to have beautiful trees everywhere, slides for the kids. But it is so beautifully incorporated in nature and use the way people want to use it.
Right.
Who is the developer? I want to thank them so much
Where
because
is
it's so rare to find a park like that, right?
it? Whereabouts is this?
This is toward between Hiroshima City. It's about 2 kilometers away from the epicenter. I was doing a live tour looking at some of the A-bombed trees that are around there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just so impressive. But, you know, so many of the newer parks are just flat concrete slabs where
Mm,
trees used to be or gardens used to be to make it clean. And
yeah.
yeah,
I
seems to
think
be
you're
a
right
odd
that
trend.
there's this feeling that earth is dirt, and having nice paved walkways is somehow better. There is an area at the end of the avenue that they say they're not going to affect, and that does have, you know, areas that you can walk among the trees. But a lot of the trees, 600 odd trees, is a huge number. So yeah, you're right. I'm interested that in the A bomb trees, did some of them survive?
Oh, it's amazing. A wonderful organization started by UNITAR, so the United Nations office here in Hiroshima, and they started a Green Legacy Hiroshima project. I had the chance to talk with the director, who was the co founder, and they collect the seeds from these trees and send them to war torn nations around the world,
Oh,
gardens and education facilities to spread that hope for peace, but
yeah.
also they have created maps and they have plaques on all the trees, to say exactly what kind of tree it is, how far it was from the epicenter. And they just give you so much hope. And they're such an important part of the
Mm,
Hiroshima story because when they started to regrow, they gave the people of Hiroshima so much hope that
yeah.
they too can recover. And it's just
Mhm,
a beautiful way to connect peace and
mm,
nature, right?
mm. I think you
And
see that
tourism.
in Fukushima as well. That when people see that nature is asserting itself again, they feel okay. Um, we can do the same thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's such a big. Let's switch gears just for a little bit. Talk about Amnesty International and the
Um,
work you've been doing. You said you were with Amnesty International Japan for about 10 years. Is that
yeah,
right?
I when I finished working full time, I had more time to do other things, and I was already aware of them, and so I started to join meetings. And the guy who was coordinating that was an English speaking group in Tokyo. He moved out of Tokyo, so I'm kind of holding. I'm holding it in the moment until somebody younger can take over. But I've been around for a while, so we've we've done a lot of things. We've had all kinds of events and meetings and pub quizzes and fundraising and taking part in Pride Days. And it's really nice in Tokyo to have something where people who feel they want to be part of something but are not speaking Japanese yet, they can come along. So we're getting newly arrived teachers. And it's a very fluid kind of group because people do come and go in Tokyo. There are English speaking groups also. I think there used to be one in Hiroshima. I don't think they're active at the moment. There's one in Nagoya, one in Osaka, and one in Kamakura. And ours is one where it's not a local community, although it started off that way. It started off being around somebody's kitchen table, and it went through various kind of stages. So at the moment, we've just started having meetings again after COVID. So during COVID, we did some things online about the death penalty, talking about women's issues, and we did a piece about people supporting people in Syria coming back from prison, helping them to reestablish their life. And oh yes, we had a wonderful piece. There is a group in Sophia University, wonderful student group that supports asylum seekers. And if you ever, they are absolutely excellent, and they're doing all kinds of support things. So they came online and did a really good presentation. So yeah, we have monthly meetings now, and we're keeping the show going.
And you're mostly focused on writing letters and talking about things outside of Japan, or do you also focus on issues, human right issues in Japan?
Well, actually, our thing at the moment, because we've got some new people joining us, is we always do the letter writing because that's the sort of basic thing that Amnesty does, and that is always focused on other countries. Although some local groups are doing a lot of campaigning about the death penalty here, it's a big issue. Amnesty is about to have its annual general meeting, and I think in the coming year, the death penalty and also the immigration, the rules around asylum seekers and refugees, those are about to be changed. And there's a lot of concern because basically they're going to make it harder for people to come and easier to send them away. And when you look at Japan's record in terms of accepting people, it really is very disturbing. It's pathetic. So that's going to be a big focus in the coming year. There have been all these cases like the woman from Sri Lanka, really just total lack of care, lack of medical resources. And I heard one story of a man from Cameroon. It's very, very sad to hear this, but this man was imprisoned, as you might say, in the detention center in Ibaraki. And he had a friend also from Cameroon who made the decision to go to Germany. The man from Cameroon, for going to Germany, was given language training, a place to stay, work training, help to find a job, and now he's established. And this poor man in Tokyo is just in limbo. He can't work. They don't let them work. So yeah, it's a huge issue that has to be somehow dealt with. Japan is not meeting its international agreements. You sign up for these agreements and then just ignore them. So it's definitely something that needs to be changed. Yes.
And with the declining population and the lack of a labor force,
Well,
uh,
exactly.
why not welcome more wonderful immigrants into this country, at least asylum seekers and refugees who really need our help
Mm,
all around the world. And Japan is one of it just takes the fewest of
mm,
any of the G7, right? With the G7 coming
Yeah.
up, it's
They argue that they give more money. They certainly do support UNHCR with more money, but they could. There are lots of these people who they want to work, they have work, and if they find them working, they arrest them and put them back in again. It's illogical. But I understand it. They feel that if it's known that people are being accepted, that more and more will come and they won't be able to cope, which is what's happening in the UK and in Australia. But they need to really sit down and work out something that will give people a chance, because so many people now are in a situation where if they don't leave their country, there's no hope for them, and we're going to have more environmental refugees. That's going to definitely be increasing. So, hey, we got far away from the tree.
yeah, let's go back to the trees. But
Mm,
I think it is human rights and environmental rights
yeah.
are so interconnected.
Mm,
And these fights to
yeah.
save public spaces and the trees, they're
Mm,
very connected to other
absolutely.
human rights issues you cover with Amnesty, right?
Oh, now Amnesty in its policies has environmental issues front and center again, which was a change, and now they're really, taking that on board. So, yeah, this whole issue. It's not only Jingu. I would hope that anybody listening would look around their local area and see just what's happening in the same way, because this is about privatization. And I'm from the UK, and that's been a huge issue in my country, that the government is just handing things over. And with our rail service, with our water supply, it's never been good, because then when it's privatized, we have to find profit for the shareholders, and it doesn't serve the people. There are some things that should not be privatized, but
But then if they go bankrupt, somehow the taxpayers will bail them out. This happens
absolutely,
in America, this happens in Japan. Yeah,
yeah.
I know these issues are not easy to solve, but
Mm,
we have lots of case studies around the world where the
mm,
shift to privatization has been a
mm,
disaster.
absolutely. So,
So let's mention about the tree campaign again, the
mm,
Jingu Gaien. Is there a deadline for getting the petitions and the names?
I would just say as soon ASAP. Really, this whole thing could move forward quite soon. Um, it could be, according to the original plan, that in the spring they will start to cut down some of the trees in one area, which is a historic little park where some documents have been shared. Or they're stored in a sort of traditional looking building. Oh, wow, that is so gorgeous. And really, we need those signatures as soon as possible. So please, everybody watching this, copy and paste and send them and put your name there, and please support, because this is something really important. It's not only for Tokyo, it's something for the whole of Japan. It's a heritage of this country. And as one of the people said, this is also for the whole world. This is a really wonderful place that should be preserved for future generations.
Do you have any events coming up? Are you going to try to talk to local policymakers or
Oh,
have like a hearing, or is there a press conference or anything coming up?
well, you Rochelle has been really busy on that. There was a press conference today by a Japanese member, I think, member of the Environmental Assessment Committee, who was kind of sidelined, and I think there will be many efforts to talk to national politicians, local politicians, directly talking to Tokyo, although they're not very open to discussion. So far, the governor has not been willing to even discuss the Jingu Gaien issue, which is really, problematic. She should be, she's in a position of responsibility to take care of something that is a public commons, and she should be talking about it. So there is something this Sunday. I think there's going to be a lot more of handing out flyers to people, trying to get more people. Oh, there you go. There's Rochelle talking. Professor Hiroshima. He wasn't on the committee, but a lot of these environmental experts are all speaking out. And the thing is, they have a better plan, which would cost less money and would not involve getting rid of any of the trees. So that needs to be pushed a little more. And the main thing here is to put on the brakes. Just say, take a pause. Let's look at all the issues here, and let's see if you can, really find some middle ground. It's probably not going to be stopped completely. It would be great if it was, but certainly, yes, the thing will be going on. There you go, on Sunday.
Yeah, Rochelle has said on Sunday, we're having a small demonstration in the park. Meet at the ginkgo trees at 12:30. So you guys will have your great T-shirts on. So easy to find.
Yeah, I'll be there. And the friend that I was with, who's kind of does stuff on her own, she said, look, we can just go there any day. Just go there, and if you have your iPad or something, or with the QR codes, just have people take them down and share them, and continue like that.
Let me put the QR code up there just one more time. And of course, when you go to Jingu Gaien, anybody listening, whether you join this campaign or not, if you share your photos on social media, and you can use the hashtag save Jingu Gaien or save Tokyo's trees, or just share it and talk about how amazing the trees are that you see all over Japan. And I think that can help add positive pressure in that way too. You see more appreciation of these things online, which has a lot of power these days in decision making at the top, right?
I'm certainly hoping that the voices of the foreign tourists, I mean, we did this for about a 3-week period, and we got 120 people. We aimed for 100. And it's pretty clear from that kind of small sample that this is something that foreign tourists really care about. So we're hoping that this will have some effect as we share it with all these, officials and agencies and government offices. So thank you for focusing on this, JJ. I mean,
of course,
really appreciate it. Yes.
I'm a big fan of the trees, anywhere and everywhere. We have very special trees in Hiroshima. Not only the A-bomb survivor trees, but we also had so many trees and plants that were donated after the war to help rebuild the city. And I think that's also very beautiful and very special. You have these trees and plants from all over Japan, all over the world that were sent here. So it's a big historical legacy, as well as just beautiful and wonderful to enjoy.
Yeah, I was talking with someone about tree hugging, and I thought, okay, probably as a non-citizen, that's not a good idea. That's the kind of thing that could get you kicked off. But I wish there were some Japanese people brave enough to go, hug the trees, don't let them. But they would be removed. This is not a country where that can happen easily. But we need to.
You can temporarily hug the tree. Just don't chain yourself or get in too much trouble. But definitely, I like to, when I see beautiful old trees, I like to touch them just gently. Because you do feel the power of the tree. They're power spots, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marianne. Thanks for joining. And thanks for all your work, campaigning for the trees, campaigning for the people. I love it.
Thank you for helping us spread the message. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you again tomorrow morning. We're doing a short takes. We usually do once a month on some sustainable innovation and new business ideas we've come across, me and Tova, tomorrow morning. So join us then. But thank you again so much, Marian. Thanks everyone for
Bye.
joining. Take
Thank you.
care.